All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are watching this VOD by any chance and you're not live on stream right now, just so you know, we're gonna go ahead and skip up, just go ahead and skip all the way to like 5 minutes before the event starts, and that's where the cast actually starts. We're just gonna set up a little bit ahead of time, say hello to everyone. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream night. Harsh, Ganti, Arkle, what's up, everyone? Welcome. I'm good. Firon, I'm good. How about you, man? Welcome to the stream. Mark, welcome everybody to the stream. We got a good one this morning. We got a good one. I mean, we are looking at the CrD family. They're about to start their Ark of Osiris. This Ark of Osiris is not a very strong alliance battle yet. These guys are fairly new. They're at about 300 million power, and I think it was pretty cool for us to look at someone who's not a billion plus to kind of see how a big part of the players in this game are playing Ark of Osiris, right? Not everyone has a tier 5 in their alliance, not everyone has a ton of tier 4s. Some people are playing their game at a much faster pace than others, so it's nice to see the early stages of Ark of Osiris, seeing an alliance like these guys who pulled up about 155 million power into the Ark of Osiris lineup, which is really cool. We're gonna see them clash and see how to do the Ark of Osiris if you don't have max legendary commanders, max commanders, and all that good stuff when you're just in the beginning / middle part of the game. So it's pretty cool. I hope you guys will enjoy this cast. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We're just gonna kind of wait it out a little bit. About 5 minutes into it, we're gonna start like the actual cast. The things that I have planned out today are pretty cool. We got a couple of new gadgets to show you guys, and yeah, pretty much that's that. How's everyone doing today? Ha indeed. One of the things we are for sure doing, and I need to remember that I need to have on hand, is writing stuff down, because this is going to be very important as part of the rest of the cast. As you guys are going to see, it's going to be pretty cool. I got a couple of things planned out. How am I doing? I'm doing great. Another Saturday, just chilling, watching some Ark of Osiris going down. How about you, Arko? Really, we can stop that in there. Do this. Good. So these guys are still doing some Dauntless rallies, just chilling about 7 minutes before the event actually begins. And this is going to be an interesting one. I really think that it's going to be interesting to see how a newer-ish, well, not really newer, they're pretty strong guys. I mean, in Kingdom 231, they're doing a really good job at staying at the top, but they're still not like huge players. I don't think there is a tier 5 in here yet, so it's gonna be really cool to see them in action. You have this guy at the top of the tier right here, and of course AB the Beast leading the pack. You got your matchups for Ark? Yes, we did. I'm not participating in our Ark. Our Ark is going on right now on the big account. So I will be casting this over participating in my own, which kind of sucks, but I prefer to cast, to be completely honest with you guys. I don't mind if I don't participate. I also did the last one, so it's like, I do want to leave space for other people in the alliance to do the event, so yeah. Which kingdom is this? This is Kingdom 231. I should probably add in the title the alliance kingdoms, right? So CrD from K231 versus, we'll see what else ends up there. What about my 196? The one in 196 is later tonight, but I'll also be streaming someone else's Ark instead. I think that what'll end up happening is that because Ark of Osiris is every other weekend, then maybe what I'll do is I'll be casting more on the weekends that there isn't my Ark of Osiris, and then on the weekend that my Ark of Osiris happens, I will skip one of the casting slots to be able to play my events, or two of them depending on if it doesn't line up. The Legends Gaming guys are doing it later tonight, but we will be watching another Ark of Osiris, which is, by the way, going to be an insane Ark. It's going to be very, very, very cool to watch because it's a big player against a much bigger player. So it's going to be really, really cool to see. All right. Well, we are 5 minutes before the Ark begins. At this point in time, we don't really know who's going to be competing against them. Unfortunately, as I am a lower level, the opponent found I still cannot view because I need to be City Hall 16 to actually view the opponent. But from a screenshot I got, the guys are about at 160 million power. It's a 30 versus 30. Hopefully everybody will show up. Hopefully we'll have everything going smoothly. I have a nice little thing that I want to add into this stream today that you guys have yet to see on an Ark of Osiris stream, so I hope you guys enjoy it. At this point, there's just one thing to do if you're an alliance getting ready for your Ark 4 minutes in. Just make sure, double check everybody is around. From what I understand, there is a Discord call that's going on in the CrD family, which we will join up in a little bit. Let's go just join that and then deafen ourselves. So we are in the CrD family's call. We will be able to hear them in the background later on, so that's gonna be pretty cool as they communicate and figure their things out. They have a substantial amount of people in this call. I can tell you that I see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 20 21 22 23 people in this call out of the 30, so I'm assuming more people will join still. It's gonna be pretty crazy. Where am I from? I live in Israel. Which kingdom this is? Kingdom 231. What's up, Madaras? How you doing? Welcome to the stream, everybody. Why do I have interesting. Aha. That answers a lot of things. Okay. All right. 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the event. We're about to get it started. We're about to get it going. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to see like a good battle. I think like the last couple of Ark of Osiris's we've casted were a bit one-sided. So perhaps this time around, it'll be a little more even. There are a couple of things we're going to look at early on. We're going to dive in straight in to see who the opponent is. We're going to update the title, and we're going to go look at who is the opposition. Once the gates open and these guys start moving, there's about a couple of minutes until the buildings start getting taken over. So we're going to talk a little bit about strategy, about things that people tend to do, about priorities and things like that. And we're going to look a little bit at lessons learned from past Ark of Osiris's. By the way, if you guys like the stream, make sure you smash the like button throughout the stream, and of course subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing this again later today, and we're going to do another cast tomorrow for sure, one if not two. I won't be streaming today. I actually had to mention to you guys that it is my birthday on Tuesday, so we're going to be doing a birthday stream instead of a stream this Saturday. So Tuesday, we're going to have a long stream, a nice long stream. We're going to open all the gold keys there and all that good stuff. So we'll do a stream today at 10 again for the second Ark of Osiris of the day. We might do another one later then on slot number 3, but we will for sure stream slot number 6 with DJ. So it's going to be really, really cool. We have so far 3 Ark of Osiris's to be casted this weekend, and they range in between alliances with tier 5s, without tier 5s, with a lot of tier 5s. So it's going to be pretty cool. What's up, Ayush? Welcome to the stream. Welcome everyone. All right, 30 seconds in, we are about to get going. Now, As I was mentioning previously, we have the Ark of Osiris League, which is something I'm trying to kind of still figure out how to get done. For now, we have the cool logo, which is a good beginning. And we're going to go into a more in-depth analysis. We're going to look at some highlight moments at the end. So it is definitely worth it for you guys to stick around and have a good time. Just get some popcorn, get your headset on, and just listen in, because there's going to be some very, very cool breakdown of things going on right now. You're from CrD. Well, we are about to get started. We are in the Ark. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the Temple of Osiris is upon us. And as you can see, our alliance is in, but their enemy is in as well. And we are going to meet Fade. Let's go look at Fade really quickly. Let's change, first of all, to Fade. And which kingdom are they from? That is a great question. Ooh, they got some big, this is a big player right here. Let's look at this alliance. They're a pretty even alliance, about 362 million power. So that's pretty cool. That's really, really cool. We got a little bit of a, let's go look at the alliance members very briefly. We have one whale right here. I can see a 27 million, and I saw another one. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Let's go look at the people we have here. We have, this is their big player right here. We have the Doc, the leader. We have right here a few 5 million players. Ooh, this is going to be a hard one. This is going to be a really tough one. I see a lot of 4 or 5 million players. These are all tier 4 players. And as they slowly make their way in, you can see right here how many of their castles are already in. Come on, refresh. There we go. So you can see there's a few spots still open up, ready for more castles, but our guys are in as well. These guys right here, we have AB the Beast leading the charge. Why do we have here? Let's see. We want to stay like that. We're seeing all of our contesters right here. And let's talk a little bit about the Ark and what's going to happen right now. And we're going to do this by breaking out a cool little tool I added for the stream right here. So the Ark of Osiris is essentially divided into, the map of the Ark of Osiris is divided into 3 zones. You have the outposts, you have the shrine, the obelisk, and the altars. Now, if you look at the map, it's pretty much a very close, similar map. Well, it's a mirror of a map, right? So essentially what people usually end up doing is heading towards the obelisks first, so you can teleport closer, and then from there on start taking the shrine, the altar, and of course start contesting for the other side's altars as well. So at this point, what we're going to expect to see in the next 40 seconds is a huge amount of troops coming out of our friends' castles and heading more towards the obelisks, where then they'll be able to teleport their troops from here into the map. Now, the thing is, right, I've noticed in the past that a lot of people are having issues with prioritizing buildings. You got to keep in mind that when you're prioritizing buildings, the first ones to open up will be your outposts and obelisks, and from there the shrine will open up and the altars as well. So as long as you are prioritizing this right set of buildings and you're keeping an eye on the altars, that's really all that matters. As the gates open up, you guys are going to start seeing a good amount of troops pouring out. Although it looks like CrD are taking their time, they're doing exactly what they should be doing, which is sending very minimal amounts of troops out there in order to get the obelisks and then teleport out from there. Let's go look at the other alliance, what they are doing. And let's see if they're sending. These guys are also being very conservative with the amounts of troops they are sending. This is actually fairly new. We have seen in the meta previously that people are still sending a substantial amount of troops early on, and I'm looking right here and we're seeing very limited amounts of troops being sent. Only one march just to take over the buildings early on, so then teleports are available. Let's do this thing. So we can see lines going all the way to the obelisks by now, and at this point it's just a race to see who gets to their obelisk first. The whole point of the obelisks is just so you can teleport out. Now here's the deal. One of the cool things that I've noticed happening in the past is that players are actually prioritizing altars that are on the other side of their map. So you guys know that the way this works is the desert altar is the closest altar to each side. So it'll be faster for each side to get to their desert altar. But then the sky altar is where usually you would contest. Essentially what would end up happening is each team would end up with 2 of these altars, and that's that. At this point, if anyone prioritizes going to the outpost and then from there goes out to the second altar and does it fast enough, there's a good probability that you'll be able to capture them early on, which will make things much more interesting in terms of points. As we just wait for the first few buildings to be taken over, we see the Codeine family already have their first outpost set up and ready to go. As we have marches walking towards the obelisk, waiting for at any moment to capture it and start letting it go. Welcome everyone to the stream. If I am ignoring you guys, I am very sorry. It's just one of those things where we're just looking at the map and commentating what's going on. Big shout out there from Kingdom 198, your family alliance. That's cool. That's good to know. So I'm gonna edit right here the title from K198. Sweet. Perfect. So now that we have all the information at hand, we're just going to be seeing these guys slowly and steadily taking over outposts, taking over obelisks, and starting to send a good amount of troops out there. As you can see, the obelisks have been already taken, and it's interesting that both sides ended up picking up the same exact side, which is, well, the faster one to them. So you can see right here that just like a mirror, these things will get taken out. But it's interesting that actually the guys at Fade went on to worry more about the obelisks themselves than the outposts, and it seems like they have a small advantage over the guys at the Codeine family, who are not ticking time on their obelisk, while these guys already have both their obelisks ticking for time. As you guys know, the way this event works is you gotta hold on to the building for 3 minutes, and once that happens, it starts piling points for you. And of course, it's yours for the holding until someone else takes it out. So you can see right here that this outpost right here was the first one to be taken, and the Codeine family have a good minute advantage in terms of points, because this outpost will start putting in the points almost a minute early. However, when it comes to obelisks, it seems like there's going to be a clear advantage for the blue team, who are already almost halfway through their timer on the obelisks, while the red team just now picked up their second obelisk. Nemanja, welcome to the stream. Welcome everybody. I'm sorry if I don't really pay attention to chat too much. We are here to commentate live on things going on. So at this stage, here's what we can expect to see. The next few steps are going to be, of course, take over the shrines, which are very, very important for healing and for extra buffs for offense. But you will see very quickly a shift towards the altars. Now, if the Codeine family are looking to close the gap, the thing that I would try to do is hop from the obelisk to the Shrine of Life, and from there straight to the Sky altar. Same thing can be done on this side if you go from the obelisk to the Shrine of Life and then to the Sky altar. At this point, you will attempt to beat the other team out of the area, which is all that you really want. As the buildings are slowly and steadily being occupied, we can already see the Codeine family starting up 80 points ahead. As I mentioned, they had an extra minute worth of points right here, which is always good. Greetings from Finland, everyone. Beefy, welcome to the stream. Welcome everybody to the stream. As you guys are watching the Codeine family stepping up ahead a couple points, which, believe it or not, will mean a lot. However, as soon as these obelisks finish up, even though the obelisks don't give that many points, they will also have a small, they'll close the gap with these outposts a little bit. You can see we have outpost for outpost. These guys are going to start getting them points. But interestingly enough, the blue team is not advancing in buildings. The outpost here is still completely free and empty and not ticking for points. So this is really weird. You can see 40 points being taken out, starting to tick for the obelisks, and the blue team is already porting in to their obelisks. You guys can slowly see the ports going on, while it seems like the red team is still trying to figure out what they're porting where and from. But still, they do have a very slight advantage in points. As you can see, the points are starting to tick faster, and that little bit they picked up early on will be crucial crucial for them to win this game, as it's going to be a very, very tight game. It seems that so far the Codeine family is still holding on to 10-point advantage. Let's go look at the battlefield a little bit further and see if there's any battles cooking up. You can see the Codeine family is slowly taking over the center and heading towards their Shrine of War, the shrine which they currently picked up, and the Desert Altar is being targeted. Now, if the Desert Altar is being targeted and they actually manage to hold on to it, this is going to be very, very bad news for the blue team. It looks like the blue team has lost their advantage in terms of the buildings, as they did have the obelisks early on, but they did not keep pushing to the next buildings, which is kind of sad. At this point, we can clearly see that the red team is headed towards the Desert Altar, but the blue team is keen on not letting this happen. This is the perfect teleportation right here in order to take over the altar, but it seems like the Sky Altar by the red team is already completely taken out. So, not a good beginning for the blue team, as the Codeine family is starting to take off in terms of points. Now, it is important to notice that we are at 22 versus 27, so there's a 5-person lead. 5-person lead for the red team, and hopefully the blue guys can catch up. As the pointing system is slowly closing out, the buildings are being taken over. The red team has yet to take their Shrine of Life or the Desert Altar, while the blue team has already started the ticking timers on everything. So this is going to be very cool to see. Check this out, guys. So because these two buildings are not being contested at all, there's no timers on them. So first of all, the blue team can still have the possibility of just sneaking in this way or even sneaking in this way. However, in the blue side, as the red team takes over the Shrine of Life, on the blue side, all the buildings are already ticking. So at the end of the day, there's a few minutes worth of advantage for the blue team in terms of buildings. They managed to actually catch up and close the gap. There's a few minutes worth of a lead that the red team is still going to have in terms of points per minute. As you can see, they're doing 30 points more per minute and opening a big gap. But once all the buildings settle in, all these timers end, you're going to see these two buildings taking a little longer for the red team to settle on, which means there's going to be more points being given out to the blue team long term. We are probably 3 minutes into the first arc coming out. I don't see absolutely any troops taking over the middle just yet. The red team kind of has an idea on keeping some troops in here, while the blue team has yet to show any troops in the Ark of Osiris. As we see our first war, our first contestant on a Desert Altar, and man, oh man, the red team is going to lose their Desert Altar. This is exactly what we're talking about. The first real war, as the Desert Altar wasn't secured early on by the red team, the blue team managed to come in and take it out. Now, even if they don't manage to hold on to it, if they decide to give up on the actual altar, the fact that the timer here is ticking for the blue team, while as you can see, these buildings are slowly settling into starting to give points, the red team is still substantially ahead in terms of points because their Sky Altars already are, their one Sky Altar is already closed. But as you can see, the numbers are closing in fast. As the red team picked up a 500-point lead, the blue team is almost done securing 2 altars and holding on to the third one. As the Shrine of War is being contested as well by the blue team. There's a pretty big boy fight going on in here. The red team is doing their best to hold on, but it looks like this Richard right here is going to be doing a huge amount of work. If you guys keep an eye on the top of the screen, you'll see the pointing slowly turning into the favor of the blue team. The red team were not able to hold on to enough buildings to keep enough of a distance and to reinforce enough to hold on to things. Even though they did take the Shrine of War early as the first occupants of it, they will most likely be losing it. And from now on, the blue team is all about making the gap count. The bigger the gap between these two guys, the harder it'll be to come back for the red team, as they also lose the Shrine of War. Their point system is down, and look at the difference. Look at the change that happened here. How did the blue team manage to get this done? You ask, it'll be very simple to answer. Unfortunately, the red team did not focus enough on the bottom side, and they completely let these guys go, while the blue team divided and conquered and ensured they take every building early. When that happened, they had enough troops moving around so that they were able to push more troops towards the shrine and towards the desert altar and take them out, while the red team was not even fully dominating the buildings yet. You guys will see a substantial amount of fights happening on the ground as the red team is trying their best to push for the desert altar, but it doesn't seem like it'll be a successful push unless this desert altar is completely empty and the red team managed to send enough sets of troops to take it back out. As you guys can see, there is one set of troops already marching back into the desert altar. There's another set of troops down here by the dock fighting Grants. Now, Beto and Grants should be doing their best to just get rid of this guy out of here, because at the end of the day, he will end up getting into the desert altar, which will make things a lot harder. So the red team has not given up at all. This is just where they start to take over again. But unfortunately for them, this game is a matter of time. And as of right now, every moment that the blue team has more points per minute, the worse it gets for the red team. Which team has the better teleport placement? Let's go look. As you can see, the red team only sent 4 castles, 4 cities into one obelisk, and sent another, it looks like 7 to this side. And even though they sent 7 to this side, the Shrine of Life, the desert altar in here was still taken out. On the blue team, we can see, let's go look, as they're not part, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side, and you can see another 6 this way. But the important thing is where they placed their castles, which was at the closer end towards the desert altar, which is how they managed to race their way this way. The red team slowly closing in on the desert altar. Now, every moment they are waiting for the desert altar for more reinforcements, the desert altar keeps getting filled up. The goal here should be that these guys should block any reinforcements coming into the desert altar, or else this will be bad. The blue team has taken the Ark, and they seem to be pretty comfortable holding on to it and going all the way back to their outpost. It doesn't seem like the red team has contested this whatsoever. They have a set of troops that is relatively close, but at this point, it looks like Poseidon Greece is going to be more than likely taking out this awesome Ark back home and taking the first 3,000 points for the Fade Alliance. And at this point, a 2.2 thousand point gap in between the red team and the blue team, and a substantial amount of a gap in points per minute. So the red team are really going to have to step up and try to get a couple of buildings in and stop fighting in the open field, or else all they're doing is pretty much gaining individual points and not alliance points. At this stage, these four marches could potentially go ahead and start hitting the desert altar. If there is a rally or something making their way, then I guess that's what they're waiting for. But this is not a game where you can wait. At this stage, all you can do is one thing: get points, burn the buildings. You have to get the points going. You have to get your points per minute count going. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 marches, and yet the desert altar still stands strong. Now, of course, the desert altar can have a ton of different troops in it that even these guys cannot do anything about, but the fact that they're being distracted by the Ark of Osiris move-in is a very bad sign. The whole point and priority are points per minute. Yes, this is going to be a huge chunk of points that the blue team is bound to get, but there's absolutely no way any of these guys can get to the Ark at this stage. And all that is going to happen is, just like in here, is going to be a field battle that is going to be pretty pointless, as even this guy who's rushing a substantial amount, he is actually, I mean, this is actually doable. There's no need for everybody else to be running in, as he is pretty much closing the gap insanely fast. And as you guys know, what you get in here as part of the carrier of the Ark of Osiris is you are debuffed 100% and you're 50% slower. So as you can see, he's just getting chunked. The Ark was taken down, and this is when Sage needs to back off. These guys need to go back to perhaps trying to take control over the Ark, but at the same time, this whole thing is a huge distraction, guys. This whole thing is a huge distraction. You guys need to, don't pick up the Ark. Let them pick up the Ark and then chunk them out. This guy is heading straight towards the Ark to pick it up. And rather than wait for him to pick up the Ark and then chunk him out, these guys are just fighting right now on the open field. He realized what he was doing wrong and backed off. But at this stage, there's too many red marches all over this place. And this could be taken. This Ark can be taken back out. While this is going on, the red team is also trying to take out the desert altar, and they're doing a fantastic job doing it. Unfortunately, there are a few other marches, blue marches near the altar, and they're pushing in fast. So the red team really has to focus on the building right now and try to get the job done before these marches make it in. If these marches make it in, it is over for the red team's attempt to take out this beautiful altar right here. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like the red team are going to be successful at taking this altar, as I see 1, 2, 3, 4 marches coming in. One of them is already in the altar, raising the health level of the building. It looks like this this march right here is just doing its best to just keep doing the damage, and there's 2 secondary marches in here as well, but 3 other marches by the blue team who haven't been backing up the desert altar. This is really weird. Instead of fighting on the battlefield right here, all of these guys can just put their troops inside the altar and let the altar chunk all of these guys out of the way. Instead, they're looking for the 1v1 fight and gaining their solo points, which is okay too, considering that the desert altar is still standing. However, it doesn't seem like it'll be standing for long if these guys don't actually start picking up their pace in terms of the defense. On the other side of the map, the blue team is contesting the sky altar from the red team, and it looks like a solo fight between Odysseus and whoever is in here. Odysseus, unfortunately, is kind of ahead in terms of the damage done and in terms of the troops. Our friend in the red team right here should be really focusing on joining the sky altar rather than fighting this right now, or else the sky altar will be taken from them, and the sky altar is taken. And now there are a substantial amount of troops inside the sky altar, which will make things so much harder for the red team to take over, and points per minute being lost. There are fights going on everywhere as the desert altar rally fails to take the desert altar. There's still 2 more marches fighting outside the desert altar trying to take it out, but there are so many blue armies everywhere. It doesn't seem like the red team is going to have a chance at doing this. However, if the blue team doesn't actually focus on holding onto the desert altar, they're focusing on fighting the guys outside. If by any chance AJ manages to take out the last set of troops in here before he takes them out, the altar will be lost. Can the altar be taken by the red team just in the last second? This is actually pretty close. This is very close. Someone joined the altar. Oh, and it was barely held. If this guy managed to take out the altar, which was so low, all of these guys would be kicking themselves because the timer would restart for the red team, and the points per minute the blue team was gaining would have gone out the window. So that's a very important thing to remember, guys. If you guys are fighting outside of a desert altar, it's all good to fight the armies around, but if you lose a building, then your points per minute go out. And as you can see, so many people are leaving this altar because they're hurt and they don't have that many troops left. Leth can actually take it. If this guy right here, if these 2 guys right here don't go into the desert altar right now and they just sit out here looking for the individual fights, there's a very good chance Leth, go hit this. He hasn't even noticed. Come on, man. You have a couple of other marches coming in. Surrender will definitely go straight for this. I don't understand how what is this guy doing? This is exactly what we're talking about. You have 2 marches outside the desert altar. They're not defending. It's the same guy not defending the desert altar. He's going for the fight. 2 hits on the desert altar and it becomes red, and the points go out the window, and it is red. And now what are you gonna do? At this point, all these troops can go into the building, and now our friend right here is completely useless as the points. It's unbelievable. The points just completely swapped. There's absolutely no way you cannot go in. There are so many troops leaving the desert altar. He could have definitely gone in a couple of times. He was just not paying attention. Half of his alliance mates left the building. I mean, for some weird reason, as we do all this, the red team are starting to come back to life. I don't really know whether they have enough time left to actually manage to close this gap, as they are still being doubled up every single minute. So the gap can keep just growing and growing and growing. Unfortunately, the focus on the wrong buildings and just the fact that 2 buildings were left untaken early on is going to really hurt the red team long term. As we see, the red team are starting to move their Ark of Osiris back towards the outpost. This should be a doable conquer, although Melee is on its way. But unfortunately for Melee, there are a set of sieges right here that are slowing this down. Why are you sending sieges for a march that needs to be a fast march? Nobody knows, but that's why catching up to the Ark is going to be a bit rougher. There are more blue team armies trying to make it to the outpost before the red team manages to score the Ark, but it doesn't seem like this is going to happen. Let's go look at the map. We have some action going on in the altar as the red team is once again trying to take the sky altar. There are 5 marches here charging and doing damage, as much damage as possible to the sky altar, and this time it looks like the sky altar will fall. Now here's the deal, guys. 35 minutes left. If the red team start chunking out buildings like they have been, taking another altar and holding on to 2 altars now, if they manage to take 1 more altar out of the hands of the blue team, we have a game in our hands. As you can see, the desert altar is already being contested by the red team. There's a lot of marches right next to the desert altar. It seems like the desert altar is very well defended. So I don't really know whether or not these guys will be able to take it out or not, or whether a rally is in its way or whatever it looks like. It looks like an esports match. Brahma, that was the plan. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to cast this. We're trying to make this interesting and competitive, even though, unfortunately, in terms of points, it looks like the blue team is well ahead of the game. There are 35 minutes still left. So in theory, if the blue team and the red team manage to come back and change around the way the pointing works, they can actually still take this. As you guys can see, they delivered the Ark successfully and closed the gap substantially with another 3,000 points courtesy of the Ark. Now there's a 15-minute gap until the next Ark, well, an 8-minute gap still left until the next Ark is summoned. So really, if the red team can secure another Ark, it'll be a very close matchup. As you guys can see, they pretty much leveled up the playing field in terms of the points per minute. The only reason they're not getting the points yet is because there are buildings that are still during the cooldown period. Once the cooldown period is over in the sky altar, you will see that we will be all evened up, and that's where the red team will have the ability to perhaps try to take a lead. Now, the next big move by the red team will be how they manage to actually start getting more points per minute. As of right now, they need to close the gap, a 3,000 point gap, right? When they do that, they'll be at a 590, 590 both together. And there from then, the whole point is how do we keep the gap closed? The way they'll do that is by simply trying to get more points per minute. Even 1 outpost can be a huge difference, and you need to get more arcs. At this point, the only way the blue team can actually win is by taking in another Temple of Osiris Ark. If the blue team take in one of the arcs, the game is pretty much done for. But if the red team managed to take in another Ark, then we have a very, very strong possibility of one game turning around on its head for the first time ever on the Ark of Osiris as far as we have casted, showing the resilience of a team being able to play the whole event. Again, if you guys like this kind of cast, make sure you smash the like button on this video. I see that Ronnie is parallel streaming me, so there's nothing I can do when Ronnie is streaming. But we're going to still keep doing our best to keep this as an esports kind of cast kind of thing with a lot of cool in-depth analysis. And what I have not done is done a little bit of notes for the recap, but we will do a small recap to see where the tides turned around in this game. Because believe it or not, this game is a lot closer than it seems. Unfortunately for the red team, the blue team kind of figured out a way to slow down the pace of the red team. They just simply took out an outpost, which now will have a 3-minute cooldown, as McClary can come back. Since Melee is out of here, McClary can come back and take this outpost, but that's 3 minutes without an extra set of points, which currently was there. So that's 30 points, 90 less points in the next 3 minutes because of an outpost being taken out. And this is a strategy that is interesting to point out. you guys can definitely go ahead and send marches towards the outposts to try to just take them out of the other alliance for just the 1 second. As long as the timer resets and there is the cooldown period, the chill down period where you don't make the points, that's all the lead you need to keep building strong. As we are 23 against 29 combatants. Let's go look at the map, see what's going on. The red team is starting to mobilize through the desert altar. There's a little bit of a ground fight going on here, which is really pointless for the alliance, as they really need right now to focus on getting alliance points to win the event rather than solo points to get the solo rewards. So these fights are a little bit helpful for the blue team, as the red team really needs to step up to get major points per minute. The red team is doing that by hitting the sky altar on the bottom of the map. This is met by 4 different marches, and unbelievably, it looks like maybe the red team are going to be able to turn the tide. If they manage to take out the sky altar, that's minus 150 points per minute for the blue team for the next 3 minutes. And if they actually manage to hold on to it, it'll create a gap in the points per minute that will actually give the red team the possibility to turn the tides around and win this game. So this is not like the rest of the Ark of Osiris that we've seen, where everything was taken out very early on. The red team's resilience gets them the sky altar, and now they have such a huge amount of troops in there that they can potentially hold on to this sky altar for the next 3 minutes and start gaining a lead. As you can see, they've taken out 150 points per minute from the blue team, and now they are starting to close the gap. Now, as soon as this gets taken care of, and the blue team or the red team will get an extra 150 points per minute, then it'll be really, really interesting. This fight is very close. It is much closer than it seems, and the Ark of Osiris will be spawning within the next 3 minutes. The blue team really know the importance of this Ark, but it doesn't seem like they have enough troops on the battlefield to help hold it. It looks like the red team are really, really keen on sending troops in here and grabbing the Ark. If the red team managed to secure a second Ark, this is gonna be an upset. This is gonna be an upset. The red team know that the only way they can upset this match right now is by getting the Ark, and from there starting to snowball their points per minute, so that the blue team cannot pretty much close the gap. Unfortunately for the blue team, there's a 6-man gap in terms of manpower. So while the blue team really did start strong, it looks like the red team are really, really keen on pushing up. I see the red team is trying to contest the desert altar on the other side of the map, and there's a substantial amount of marches in here fighting for it. And there's a lot of damage being done to the desert altar, but there are also people relatively close to it that can keep reinforcing it. So this desert altar is going to be very tough to be taken out by the red team. Now, this is a very important point to keep in mind, that if all these marches get wiped on this side of the map, it leaves a huge hole for the blue team to be able to take over some of the more interesting buildings. So if you look at the mini map on the top right, you can see that you have these 2 buildings right here, the shrine and the altar, being available to be taken out if all these red marches are wiped, as they got to go back and then come back in. So there's a lot of march time happening here, and a potential way for the blue team to get back into the game. As of right now, what the blue team have to do is they need another altar in their name, or they need to stop the red team from making points per minute on 3 altars. In 42 seconds, that'll be the case, and at this point, the red team will be taking a very big lead in the points per minute approach to the game, and from there to be able to actually turn the tides around. Welcome to the stream, Daniel. Welcome, everybody. If you guys are liking the cast, make sure you guys smash the like button. If you guys want me to cast your own alliance, hit me up on Discord. Link is in the description, and we can make that happen potentially. Unfortunately, not that many of you are in here, as we have a double cast going on with Legend Ronnie casting an alliance from Kingdom 69, doing their Ark of Osiris right now. So it is what it is. But for those of you who are here, I thank you for being here, and I hope you guys are enjoying this type of content where we do a little bit more of a esports feel to the Ark of Osiris. 48 seconds until the Ark appears, and we see a huge 300-point difference per minute in the red team, as the red team are going to start closing in the gap. Less than 3,000 point of a gap. It was at some point up to almost 7,000 points in the gap of points between them. It was a 14,000 to 7,000 lead for the blue team, and the red team are really pushing hard to get it done. Daniel, if you click on the description of the stream, you'll see Discord, a group in there, and you can find me there, and private message me from there. Let's see. The Ark has been placed, and the blue team is actually showing up. There's a lot of blue people right here looking to get this Ark taken out. Poseidon is really going straight for the Ark, which is not necessarily the best idea. The whole point is, first of all, you got to clear out the area. And what Mark is doing is he's actually taking out McClary. McClary is the fast march that was supposed to take the Ark, while we have here two other guys trying to block the rest of the red team from fighting Poseidon. Now, Poseidon needs to dip. Every moment Poseidon is standing here, just standing still, is pointless for him. Unfortunately for the blue team, there's a red team is already sending troops from the back. So if Poseidon sees this, which he doesn't, he will be moving towards the other direction. Unfortunately for him, he is not paying attention to the map, and he's going to be met with an ugly surprise, as 3 red marches are coming from the same side Poseidon is heading for. It seems like the blue team completely lost track of, completely lost focus. They were very focused up early on. As Poseidon finally realizes the mistake he's making, the gap that was closed by the red team is so big that there's absolutely no way Poseidon can get out of this. At this point, Poseidon is just pretty much done for, as he already gave a huge advantage for the red team by not paying attention to the fact that there is a red march coming on in his way. Here we go, as the blue team are slowly losing their lead. Now the lead is less than 2,000 points. 24 minutes into till the event ends, there is a very high likelihood that the red team will be able to hold strong. Now, unfortunately, the red team is losing a little bit of track and going for the side march, which is what Poseidon really wants them to do. Poseidon really wants the red marches to slow down as he tries to build a bigger gap from them. The blue team, in the meantime, end up taking a desert altar back. It looks like they end up taking the desert altar down here back, and the timer starts ticking. This will help them maintain the gap, even though there's still 150 points per minute being done more by the red team. If the blue team managed to actually take this Ark, then the comeback will be even tougher. Unfortunately for Poseidon, he is being swarmed, and this is where McClary is going to have to swoop in and pick up the Ark and hope for the best as he pushes on. Bella Rosa actually thought it's a better idea. All these guys trying to pick up the Ark at the same time instead of fighting each other, which is really, really weird. 3 marches, red marches, just waiting for this blue march to do something. And this blue march is straight up going to probably get chunked. Now the red team are firmly in command of the Ark, and it doesn't seem like the blue team will have enough marches anywhere nearby to actually try to stop this. If the red team manages to actually take out this insane Ark of Osiris, then this will be a crazy comeback by 2 relatively small alliances that are fighting neck and neck, except for the obvious fact that there is a 6-man difference between the 2 alliances. The blue team started early on very strong. They had a huge advantage, and as of right now, we are kind of even. The only reason the red team still has a little more points per minute is because in a minute and a half, the desert altar will start giving the blue team points back, and we will be at 590 all in all. If the red team managed to close down the gap to about 1,000 points, then once they deliver the Ark of Osiris, they will be able to win the event. Now, it seems like Bella Rose is either AFK, or I don't know why he decided to stand still, but he just allowed blue marches to close the gap with him, which is very bad. Luckily for him, he still has some defenders around him to help him out to get away from the extra marches that are going to be moving all over this place. And it seems like the blue team is also attempting to go for the backstab. Unfortunately for them, the blue team has not focused as much energy as they should have on the center, and for that, the red team will most likely be able to carry this Ark of Osiris back to its outpost, as the gap is closed and narrowed down to less than 1,000 points between the red team and the blue team. This is going to be an upset, ladies and gentlemen. There is 21 minutes still left, and anything can still happen. This game is still very close. If you guys have seen a closer Alliance Battlegrounds, a closer Ark of Osiris, let me know in the chat. But if this is the closest one you guys have ever seen, and this is actually a nice fight going on that I've not seen something like this before in an Ark of Osiris, make sure you let your Alliance mates know to get in here and enjoy the fun as we are watching the red team and the blue team really doing their best to occupy buildings and even out the numbers. We are evened up. The map is divided again, points for points, 590 to 590. It seems like the gap is about 800 points, but the Ark of Osiris is marching towards the red side. And there's absolutely nothing, it seems, that the blue team will be able to do to stop this. At which case, the 3,000 points for the Ark of Osiris will be rewarded to the red team, and the gap will now be turned around. It looks like as the red team is marching the Ark, there's pretty much nothing the blue team can do about it, but now there's a lot of focus in the center, which allows the blue team to, if they are smart about it, start to work around the map. So you have a Sky Altar not being contested at all whatsoever. Look at this. Sky Altar completely, no marches moving into it. Finally, one set of marches, two sets of marches, three sets of marches starting to march in. This is a little bit too late, as this is just taking points just without even contesting. Look at this. Nobody's contesting this Sky Altar as well. Just one march on its way here, and it's a very small march. Potentially, there's either nothing in here that he'll be able to yoink it, or Bumblebee will actually manage to get in first and hold on to the altar. It doesn't look like the blue team or the red team are focused anywhere. The red team is strictly focused on the 3,000 points that are part of the Ark of Osiris carrying. You can see a substantial amount of energy of marches and of players surrounding these guys and making sure that the Ark will make it back. But the blue team is not reacting anywhere on the map. It looks like the blue team is trying to hold on to their desert altar, while the red team is cooking up a side offense on the desert altar at the bottom. The bottom Sky Altar is being contested. There is a 1v1 fight happening here, and the blue team is reacting. The blue team is finally reacting, and as soon as they take out the Sky Altar from the red team, the pointing system per minute will go back in favor of the blue team as they once again start opening a gap. 590 points per minute versus 440, and in 3 minutes that gap will be even bigger in the points per minute system. Holy lordy, speaking for 40 minutes straight is not easy. Guys, I hope you guys like this kind of content. Smash the like button. There's going to be a VOD available. We're going to be doing this much more often. We're organizing a Discord group. We're organizing a bunch of stuff. The Ark of Osiris is going to be dope. The red team is not necessarily going to clearly win, Gabby, as it seems like even though they're going to pick up the Ark and pick up a little bit of a lead, it seems like they're going to be losing the points per minute game once again, as once the altar ticks down for 2 minutes, there's going to be a pretty big 300 point gap in between these two. So it's still anyone's game. Where is it? Bye. Later. Okay. As we're looking here, the desert altar, 150 points per minute being contested by the red team. If the red team managed to actually take out this desert altar, and the blue team snuck in and take the Shrine of Life away from the red team. Oh no, this falls apart for the red team as the red team went for the obelisk. As the red team went to take over the obelisk from the blue team, and the obelisk is not that big of a point system overall. 20 points per minute building is not that critical. The blue team slowly snuck in and took out the Shrine of Life and an altar, opening a bigger gap, starting to tick in the gap again as we're at 1,500 point gap difference between the two. Look at this. I mean, a 210 point difference per minute going on right now. The red team focused on the obelisk and completely let go of the Shrine of Life, which was taken out by the blue team, and the altar right here, which is in 40 seconds going to start ticking for the blue team. While Bella Rose is indeed gonna get the 3,000 points, and they're gonna take a quick lead here as soon as the Ark of Osiris is actually returned to the outpost. And I don't understand where Bella Rose is going. The outpost is where he needs to be, but okay. The shrine is taken back out by the red team, which is good for them, but still there's 3 minutes worth of time where they're not going to get any points for that. And also the second altar right here, the desert altar, is being contested by the red team. If enough marches start hitting this, there's a chance they can take it away from the blue team. As of right now, we have a few buildings that are not ticking points for anyone. The sky altar just started ticking for the blue team, and you can see the amount of points per minute gap is double. There is double amount of points per minute, and at this point, it is almost going to be clear that the red team is going to build a nice 2,000 point gap. As soon as the Ark is returned, there will be a nice little chance for the red team to come back. I don't understand why the red team haven't delivered the Ark yet. They're taking their sweet time with it, and as a return of that, there's not going to be another Ark being spawned. So as a team who is taking Arks consistently, you want to return them as much as possible so you can get as many points out of it. And at this point, it seems like the red team are really not trying to place the Ark back as soon as possible. The red team is being contested in here on the sky altar on the top of the map, but it seems like they will be able to hold on to the sky altar. They are going to need to send some troops in, or else the blue team will be able to yoink it back. It looks like the altar up here is being ticked by the red team. We're back to only a 210 point gap between the two teams, but unfortunately for the red team, the Shrine of Life and the desert altar are still not ticking points for them. So the red team is still not able to close the gap, and the blue team has now opened almost a 2,000 point gap back from the 800 that it was previously. The red team can really still lose this game. They're taking their time with the Ark, which is okay, I guess, but they're at the same time not paying attention to the rest of their map. As of right now, the map is fairly evened up at a 50-50 situation. There are two buildings that are not ticking for points for the red team, the desert altar and the shrine. Once that happens, they will stop the gap from growing, but it won't be it might not be enough, as they will have to get the altar, the Ark of Osiris in and then hold. It looks like the blue team could still have a little bit of an energy in them. 15 minutes still left. It's anyone's game. You guys saw that in the last 10 minutes, the red team managed to catch up, and then the blue team took them back out. So it's a back and forth thing. There is an attempt on backdooring the desert altar. The desert altar is being backdoored by the red team. The blue team has nobody near it. Can they actually backdoor this desert altar? If they manage to stop the desert altar for taking points for the blue team, this is going to be a devastating stop to the blue team, who managed to actually turn the tides back in their favor. And it looks like they are going to lose. They're going to lose the desert altar. Oh no, they got backdoored, as they did not have enough troops inside the desert altar. They got backdoored, and now the gap is closed. The red team can actually, within a couple of minutes, pick up another altar right here and start closing the point per system again. As the Ark of Osiris is delivered, the red team take a firm 1,400 point difference. Look at this. This is actually unbelievably close, as the red team is waiting another 2 minutes and 20 seconds for another altar to start ticking in their favor. And then within the next 10 seconds, we are going to see the red team start bringing their gap to a much higher level. As you can see right here, in 2 seconds, bam, 150 point difference. And every minute now, the red team is gaining points. The game has turned. The tides have turned. Can the blue team come back from this? There's a few battlefields going on right here around the desert altar, as the blue team is trying to sneak troops around, trying to take backdooring different types of buildings. As you can see, very small sets of marches going all over the place. Fade are still not out of this. Fade can still get the job done if they manage to take over their desert altar very quickly and let the timer go by so that it starts ticking in their favor. And at this point, they have to keep pushing up. They did a fantastic job just hurting the red team by taking their desert altar and shrine briefly. What I would suggest to the blue team to do at this stage is they really want to start maybe hitting these outposts just to stop the ticking of points. The whole point right now is that, if you guys can see on the screen, we're gonna get a little bit of a drawing going on. This building, whoa, that's a little bit thicker than it should be. This building right here is actually not taking any points for anyone, as it's still under its cooldown. However, there aren't any other buildings really that are under cooldown. So what you want to be doing is you want to make sure that the buildings that you're working with will either be taking points for you, or they will be on cooldown for the enemy combatant. So you can see right here, the blue team took out the desert altar back. You can see now it's ticking for the blue team, but the fact that it has a timer on it, the red team already did their job. The red team already managed to stop the blue team from getting points from this building by just resetting the timer on the cooldown. The blue team managed to retake the sky altar from the red team and starting the timer on it as well. And now we are back to being even, as there is 10 minutes left on the game, and the gap is about 2,000 points for the red team. The blue team can still get it done. As of right now, the blue team is holding on to 3 altars. If they manage to hold on to another altar and take out the Shrine of War, which they're contesting for, but unfortunately won't be able to hold. If they manage to hold on to these sky altars, they could potentially have a chance at winning this event still, as it's going to wind down to points per minute. Now, if you want to be sure that you have to win, essentially, you're going to want to stop. You're going to want to slow down the enemy from making points per minute. That means that you're going to want to sacrifice a few marches to try to get these outposts, to try to get these obelisks, to try to make the buildings go back into a cooldown timer. If you manage to take out any of these buildings and stop their points per minute for 3 minutes, that's going to be golden in everything you need in order to succeed and win this. As the red team has about 2,000-ish points a lead, the blue team really are going to have to step it up. Fortunately for them, once the 2 altars manage to get out of the cooldown, they'll have a 300 point per minute advantage. So they might be able to close the gap, as 10 minutes will give them 3,000 points advantage. If they manage to hold on, it will help them close the gap and it potentially even win. But they have to hold on to all their buildings right now. They have to be able to maintain everything. If the red team manage to take out any of these altars right here, the game will pretty much be over. If the red team managed to if the blue team managed to in any shape or form take out any of the red buildings just to make them not tick points, it's actually possible that within the last minute of the match, the tides will turn. The red team, who is completely aware of this, are swarming the desert altar, which is being just pushed by blue marches all over the place, and they are not letting them get into this altar. If the red team is gonna let even a second of the blue altar be to tick for them, then it's just gonna be easy points for the blue team. The red team should be doing their best to take out this altar right now. These marches right here should be sending their forces straight into the altar, not even worried about the field of combat. They have to get in the desert altar. They have to hold on. No, I'm not reading chat while I'm casting, bro. I'll read chat after. I don't keep an eye on it as often. Let's look at here as we have the sky altar going on for 4 more seconds, and now look at the points per minute differential. 300 point difference, and the red team is starting to lose their gap, as they really are going to have to put a time and effort and energy into taking this desert altar. This guy right here coming out to fight the battlefield is just unnecessary, as I see troops coming in and out of the altar trying to just battle on the ground. This is a really, really weird situation right now, where essentially instead of holding on to the building, you're losing troops trying to fight on the battlefield, which makes absolutely no sense. So hopefully it'll work out. Later, bro. So we have the red team taking out the Shrine of Life now. This is bad news. Very bad news for the blue team, as the Sky Altar is taken out and the Shrine of Life is taken out. 2 substantial buildings, 2 point buildings. This is 230 points out the window. They are still closing the gap per minute, but at this stage, if the red team managed to just get all these timers to start ticking against the blue team, this will be over. I'm new to the stream. I got a question. What's the best epic of the Zero? How you doing, man? This is not a regular stream. I usually do like regular streams where I'm with chat and chilling and whatnot. This is a Ark of Osiris cast, where we're just doing kind of like a competitive outlook at the Ark of Osiris. We're watching things and just commentating on things as they happen. As you can see, the Sky Altar is taken out by the red team as well, which is pretty much sealing the deal for the red team as the victorious comeback of this Ark of Osiris. What's up, Vim? What's up, Vim? How you doing? So yeah, at this stage, the match is over. Primarily because even though the blue team will be able to take any other buildings out, they really don't have the time to keep allowing the points to tick, as it'll take 3 minutes for them to start earning points on any building they take out. And that'll mean that even if they take all the available points for the last 3 minutes, they're gonna need all the points to win pretty much. Fade here, nice fights. Yeah, the fights were pretty crazy. You'll keep this as a video after the stream, right? Correct. There's going to be a new playlist for the Ark of Osiris casts, and you guys can go watch all of them, and you guys can go see what the mistakes people made. This is a really, really, really good cast to go back and look at, because this is the first Ark of Osiris I've ever seen a team actually come back towards the late game and win it. There's very few situations where teams are resilient enough to actually win in the late stage of the game. We're going to have one more cast later tonight of a much bigger alliance, and it's going to be a much cooler, bigger situation. If you guys like this kind of cast, make sure you smash the like button on this and share the VOD with your alliance mates so they can watch this and understand what was done wrong. The Codine family did a really good job at taking things out, although of course there's 7 people ahead, so it's kind of unfair. But they still managed to come back from a huge deficit. At some point, it was 14,000 points versus 7,000 points, where the blue team had double the amounts of points, and yet the red team still managed to win. So it's really, really cool. Chen, great job on the casting. I truly enjoyed it. Thank you. We're going to kind of like slow down the cast right now, as it's pretty much over. Even if Melly could, if she was actually trying to win, she could potentially try to make it to the outpost as fast as possible and win this. If Melly was actually paying attention to what was going on, it seems like Fade are not really, it seems like Fade are faded. It seems like they're not really here. I don't know. I don't understand why Melly has been sending here for about a minute while holding on to the Ark unnecessarily, letting Wex get closer and closer. She could have been by now like anywhere out here or anywhere out here or anywhere really further away from where she is, and potentially actually come back and clutch like a crazy amount. Blue team definitely did not focus enough. Red team are right now solidly in the lead, just going in between the buildings and just dividing and conquering as much as possible. You won, your Ark was last week. You won against the Alliance in Kingdom 96 and you're in Kingdom 152. Nice. Your alliance was under attack during KE. That's fine, Ankit. There's gonna be a stream VOD of this stream available within the next couple of hours, and I'll be streaming again another Ark of Osiris later tonight, so you guys can definitely come back for it. We're gonna look at the end of this, so if you guys want to stick around, we're gonna still do a nice little 10-minute of post analysis to see what happened at what times and stuff like that, and show you guys some of the things that I've noticed that could have been done better or worse. And we're just gonna go overall look at the recap of this whole Ark of Osiris, point out the better plays, the worst plays, where things happen, how they happen, and then just wrap up this cast. We'll be back later tonight on the next slot, on slot number 2 of the Ark of Osiris, with a much bigger alliance fighting in a much harder battle. So stay tuned for that. About 2 minutes and 43 seconds in towards the end. 3,000 plus point difference between the red team and the blue team. The comeback is real. It is unbelievable. They actually managed to come back up to like the first 35 minutes. The red team was completely in the behind. At some point they had half of the amounts of points that the blue team had, and yet they still won, which is unbelievable. It's just crazy. That's crazy. So I see Chisco and Ronnie are streaming at the same time. So this is going to be a rough situation to be casting these events, as really contesting with Chisco or Legend Ronnie is whoo-wee. But we will keep doing our best in casting all these events as much as possible, because, you know, that's what we do. You guys can see just the final moments of the arc. These guys are just trying to get their points, and it's crazy that only one person might make it to 10,000 points. At least some of them made it above the 6,000 mark for more rewards. And of course, I hope everyone, well, it seems like 2 people will not be getting, well, AB the Beast being one of them, not be getting any of their individual points done, which is really weird. As we wind down to the last minute of the cast, well, of the event, 5,000 point differential. You guys can see the points per minute are really stacked towards the red team. It seems like GGs have been called by the blue team. And that's that. You have an arc tonight. You won your first one. It should be a good one tonight. That's awesome. Do you think if blue had more players, they'd have won this match? Perhaps. It really, you can never really know why, what was the reason. It seemed like the red team were a little more resilient and were really working hard to win this. Perhaps the fact that there are 7 people ahead is what made them win. I don't know. It's really something we can speculate on. I mean, 7 people means 7 people means what? We can call it 21 marches. It's a substantial difference. As 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the arc is victorious. Bam! Victory to our friends at the CrD family, CrD. You guys are seeing a very close total kill count, so this is pretty cool. They were very close, even though there were 7 people behind. The kill amounts were substantial. The units healed also. It's really interesting right here. Occupation score really tells the story, where the blue team actually had more occupation scores than anyone else. Than the red team. You can see right here, they actually had won the game if it was about occupation. Provisions is the caravans. It looks like the blue team were doing a better job at caravanning, and then they solidified their victory with Ark of Osiris scores, which is pretty cool. It seems like they were also given 1,500 points just for holding the Ark at the end. So it'd be interesting if the blue team had held the Ark till the end. It would be 35 to 33, which would have made it much, much closer. So that was the Ark, and now what we're gonna go do is we're gonna rewatch a few parts of this crazy Ark of Osiris. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do that, and we are gonna ignore me altogether. You guys are gonna be, well, you guys really can't see me, can you? Because I'm blocking myself. That's pretty cool. That actually worked out. So without any sound, we're gonna go ahead and go look at the Ark of Osiris once again, and I'm gonna move my mic a little bit out of the way so we can see. At the beginning of the arc, we were, let's go look. At the beginning of the arc, it was very, very clear early on that the red team was more focused on buildings. It was about 7 minutes into the game, the red team had already taken 3 outposts versus the 1 on the blue team, but the blue team had taken out 2 of the obelisks. As we keep scrolling through the event, you guys can see that we were talking about which buildings should be more prioritized and where we should be at. You can really see a change, and I'm gonna pause the video right here. Stop. You can see on the top right here up above me on the minimap that there's a really clear indication of who had the more buildings early on. The blue team was already taken 1 building ahead. They had everything going on, even though the red team's timer was quicker, which is how we know that the red team had a little bit more points early on. So you can see that the fact that they picked up the 3 outposts much earlier than the blue team did had a little bit of an advantage early on, as they picked up 60 points more than the blue team in the early game. As the map ended up getting evened out, it was really weird because the 30-point differential was everything for the red team. The red team was still gaining in terms of advantages of pointing per minute. They were still going ahead. But then something really interesting happened. Battles started happening, and for some weird reason, right around, let's go look at that, right around here, the red team really didn't give enough pay enough attention to their Shrine of War for some reason. And it seems like the Shrine of War was being held by only one guy. And when 2 marches managed to make it in to the actual to the shrine itself, it ended up getting taken out by the blue team. And this started a snowball effect that was just like allowed the blue team to start gaining much more points per minute than the red team did. This was really the point where everything changed. How to teleport inside the Ark? You just take an obelisk and then teleport. I'm so confused as to what you're talking about. You just take you click on the top right. You have like a teleport thingy, and you select where you want to go next to the obelisk. But there's up to 20 ports total, so keep that in mind. So at least early on, so you have the shrine being taken out, and you guys can see I show you that essentially at this point the blue team is really keen on making as many points as possible. Where did my mouse go? There we go. So you can see what ended up happening, and I started drawing it, is that the blue team managed to take over the 2 buildings that were being neglected by the red team. So much early on, I showed you guys right here that the red team has neglected this side of the map while the blue team was already taking their whole map. So at this stage, what ended up happening is that when the red team started going for the bottom buildings, the desert altar was taken out by the blue team much early on. And within the next, like the first 14 minutes or so, the blue team completely dominated the map. The blue team completely dominated the map. And it got to the point where they owned 3 altars, 2 and 3 shrines out of 4 and 4. So it's a really interesting situation. Now what the red team ended up doing is they focused on the center. The red team ended up focusing on getting the Ark, even though the blue team early on almost managed to take it out. Sog somehow managed to stop the blue team from taking this Ark back, and then all these red guys started swarming in an attempt to actually get this Ark back in their favor. The red team managed to walk the Ark back from the other half of, this is the blue team side. You guys can see on the mini map we're way ahead, and they managed to march it all the way back to get their 3,000 points. Now look at the point differential right here. At this stage, the red team is being chunked points wise. Every time I jump up in time, you guys can see that the red team is going up by 100 points and the blue team is going up by like 500-600. It's just the gap was growing substantially. At some point, we got to 12,000 against 7,000, 13,000 against 7,000. There was almost a two times difference between the 2 alliances. How crazy is that? And then somehow, well, not somehow, by the help of the Ark, they managed to get 3,000 points and close half of their gap. And you can see there's a 3,000 point gap still here. 27 minutes into the event, 33 minutes left. And it just snowballed from there. And they just started taking over the map, having a 50-50 share on the map, and starting to slowly chip away at the points of the red team. Once the second Ark was out, it was pretty much over, as the red team solidly took the Ark out of the hands of the blue team and managed to walk it back. At this stage, there was a 1,000 point gap, but 3,000 guaranteed points on the red team on their way back to the Ark. Once the Ark was actually delivered, that was when we started seeing that even though the blue team was trying their best to keep a big gap in the points per minute system, they just couldn't hold on to it. And as soon as the Ark was delivered, which was somewhere around here, the red team took the lead as they went from 23,000 to 27,000 points within a heartbeat. And this is where the tables had turned. And at this stage, the red team pretty much ran away with the game. What ended up happening is that the blue team managed to slow down the red team by taking out some altars. But because of the cooldown timer, it was just impossible to just close the gap and get it done. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this cast. We did a little bit of analysis throughout the game. We drew on the map and did some cool things. Did a little bit of a recap on this fight. If you guys like this kind of content, make sure you smash the like button. We will be back with another cast for the next block with a much bigger alliance who's going to have a much tougher time winning their game. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I'll see you guys in the later stream. Hopefully it'll be a lot more packed, as hopefully we won't have Chisco and Legend Ronnie casting in the background. But if we do, it is what it is, right? Anyway, I'll see you guys there. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday. Come back within a couple of hours for the next Ark of Osiris. Peace.